Hi, and welcome to Stamp with Ginny. Today I'm going to share with you this little card made with the Nuts About Squirrels Stamp set. This card is part of my Step It Up series and is one of 3 cards that you'll find in the mini catalog. So let me set this aside and I'll show you how we got started. I'm going to start with the stamping for this, and so I'm going to bring in my branch. I'm going to ink this up with the Early Espresso, and I'm going to stamp it here on the left-hand side with the branch going off the cardstock. Next, I'm going to bring in this little squirrel image, and I'm going to ink it up with the Early Espresso also. I'm going to slide this down so hopefully the camera doesn't get in my way for the 2-step stamping. So now the feet on this little guy are what you're looking at to line it up with your branch. Set it down, 1, 2, 3, so that ink transfers and you've got this perfect little 2-step image. I'm going to do his body quickly while I've got him where I need him, and I'm going to take the solid image and pumpkin pie, ink him up and line him up. Now I am lining up the feet, the ears, and the tail here. The Stamparatus is great for this if you're doing multiple cards, since you can line it up one time. The next thing I'm going to do is add my squirrel down here in the corner. I'm going to ink up the image stamp, and then I'm going to bring in the solid image, and I'm going to move this down again so I can see better, and line him up. I'm using the Sahara sand for this. What steps this card up is not only the inks that I'm using, but one of the punches. So next is the Acorn. I'm going to bring in this little acorn and ink it up with the Sahara sand, and I'm going to stamp that right on the bottom here. And then I'm going to bring in the little cap, and I'm going to ink that up with the espresso and stamp that. Now that I have my acorns done, I'm ready to move on to the leaves. So I'm going to bring in this leaf solid image and the 2-step image, and I'm going to add some colors. I'm going to bring in Cajun Craze, which is a wonderful fall color. And I'm also going to bring in our Old Olive. And finally, our Crushed Curry. So I'm going to add some little leaves here to the branch, and I'm going to start with the lightest color, which is our Crushed Curry. I'm starting with the lightest color because that allows me to stamp without having to clean in between. I'm going to stamp this off a couple of times to get the ink off, and then I'm going to bring it over to our Old Olive, and I'm going to add that leaf right here on the end. Once again, I'm going to stamp off and then move to my Crushed Curry. Since I'm going from light to dark, I really don't have to clean in between since it won't contaminate my ink pads. Once I've got my 3 leaves done, I'm going to bring in this line image and my Early Espresso, and I am going to simply stamp that image on all 3 to give those leaves a little bit of detail. There we go. I've got my squirrels done, and so next I'm going to bring in this small piece of Crushed Curry cardstock. Since this is such a small piece, I'm going to create a little tag here to hold on to and slip this in. I want to go all the way down, so I need to turn it over so I can see, using that Post-it to hold on to it, and punch. There we go. And I can use that to Post-it again later if I'd like to. Now that I've got that, I can do my stamping of my sentiment. So I'm going to bring in this Nuts About You, ink it up with the Early Espresso, and stamp. And I can stamp that right in the center so that I can see it's about even. Once I have all my stamping done, I'm ready to start assembling. So I'm going to bring in my Crushed Curry cardstock base, and I am going to fold this on the score line. I'm going to bring in the Old Olive cardstock piece, and I'm going to adhere this down. I'm going to adhere it right here in the center, slightly above center. I want about 1 inch on the top and a little more on the bottom. Then I'm going to bring in my little squirrel piece here and my dimensionals. And this is going to just add a shadow to this panel. So I want to give it plenty of support though. I've added my dimensionals. I'm going to remove the covers. And adhere that down. There we go. And then I'm going to add this little sentiment flag here in the crushed curry. And I'm simply going to add some adhesive onto the back. Oops. And I'm going to adhere that right below these leaves and wipe that extra adhesive off there. For a final something, I'm going to take my inside panel and I am simply going to take my cap from the little acorn. Let's see, I'm going to tilt them that way. And then my little bottom of the acorn, that I'm going to use the Sahara sand and stamp that just to add a bit of color. So there you go. I am ready to adhere this or simply place it inside so that it's ready to go when I need to send a card. I hope you've enjoyed this little project. This Step It Up series was taken right out of the mini catalog. You'll find it on the same page as the Nuts About Squirrels Stamp set. And I hope you'll take a look at all 3 cards in my Step It Up series. If you'd like any of these products, feel free to stop by my online store. You can get there from my blog, Stamp with Jini. Thanks for joining me.